Welcome to CVR English. This is Naresh Kumar. Let's watch the world news. On April 16, 2025, Russian President Vladimir Putin met with Alexander Tofanov, a Russian-Israeli dual citizen recently freed after nearly 500 days in Hamas captivity following the October 7, 2023 attacks on Israel. Tofanov was abducted from the near Woj Kibjor near the Gaza Strip, where his father was killed during the assault. His mother, grandmother and fiancé, who were also taken hostage, had been released earlier during a ceasefire and prisoner exchange. During the Kremlin meeting, Putin credited Russia's long-standing relations with the Palestinian groups, including Hamas, for facilitating Tofanov's release. He expressed gratitude to Hamas leadership for this humanitarian gesture and affirmed Russia's commitment to secure the release of all remaining hostages.
Сейчас ни в коем случае не хочу давать никаких политических оценок тем событиям, которые происходят. Но все, что с вами произошло, это большая беда. А то, что удалось вам оказаться на свободе, это результат того, что в России стабильные многолетние отношения с палестинским народом, с его представителями, самыми разными организациями. И думаю, нужно выразить слова благодарности руководству, политическому крылу Хамас за то, что они пошли нам навстречу и совершили вот этот акт, гуманитарный акт, вас освободили. Я вас как раз с этим и хочу поздравить. Сейчас ни в коем случае не хочу давать никаких политических оценок тем событиям, которые происходят. Но все, что с вами произошло, это большая беда. А то, что удалось вам оказаться на свободе, это результат того, что в России стабильные многолетние отношения с палестинским народом, с его представителями, самыми разными организациями. И думаю, нужно выразить слова благодарности руководству, политическому крылу Хамас за то, что они пошли нам навстречу и совершили вот этот акт, гуманитарный акт, вас освободили. Сейчас ни в коем случае не хочу давать никаких политических оценок.
The White House has accused Kilmar Abrego Garcia, a Salvadoran man reportedly deported in error, of MS-13 gang affiliations despite his legal protections in the U.S. and no criminal record. The statement came as Senator Chris Van Hollen faced criticism for visiting even Salvador to advocate for Abrego Garcia, who is now held in a high-security prison. White House spokesperson Caroline Leavitt dismissed Abrego as no Maryland further, threatening further deportation if he returned. Van Hollen was denied access to the detainee while Abrego's lawyers insist he fled gang violence and was granted a protective order in 2019. The case highlights growing controversy over Trump-era deportations under the 1798 Alien Enemies Act.
Good afternoon, everybody. Today we have officially learned Democrat officials still refuse to accept the will of the American people. Maryland Democrat Senator Chris Van Hollen rushed to Dulles Airport this morning to fly to El Salvador, potentially using taxpayer dollars, to demand the release of deported, illegal, alien MS-13 terrorists. The Democrats and the media in this room have continually and wrongly labeled Kilmar Abrego Garcia as a Maryland father. There is no Maryland father. Let me reiterate. Kilmar Abrego Garcia is an illegal alien, MS-13 gang member and foreign terrorist who was deported back to his home country. And when Kilmar Abrego Garcia was originally arrested, he was wearing a sweatshirt with rolls of money covering the ears, mouth, and eyes of presidents on various currency denominations. This is a known MS-13 gang symbol of hear no evil, speak no evil, see no evil. Abrego Garcia was also arrested with two other well-known members of the vicious MS-13 gang. And two separate judges found that Abrego Garcia was a member of MS-13, and that finding has never been disputed. And just this morning, it was revealed through Maryland court documents that Abrego Garcia's wife petitioned for an order of protection against him for 2 instances of domestic violence in May of 2021. And here is the order right here. The court ordered that the respondents committed the following acts of abuse. Once in May of 2021, assault in any degree. And on May 4th of 2021, he punched and scratched his wife, ripped off her shirt, and grabbed and bruised her. So not only are Democrats rushing to defend an illegal criminal foreign terrorist gang member, but also an apparent woman beater. To set all of that aside, the basic fact that he was illegally inside our country and had a lawful deportation order made him subject to removal back to his home country of El Salvador. And if he ever ends up back in the United States, he would immediately be deported again. Nothing will change the fact that Abrego Garcia will never be a Maryland father. He will never live in the United States of America again. And the United States Supreme Court ruled unanimously that the President of the United States and the Secretary of State could not be compelled to forcibly retrieve this citizen of El Salvador who is currently locked up in a maximum security prison in his home country due to his MS-13 membership. It's appalling and sad that Senator Van Hollen and the Democrats applauding his trip to El Salvador today are incapable of having any shred of common sense or empathy for their own constituents and our citizens.
Why are we not protecting the American citizens? It's just common sense. Why are we not protecting our children? And to have a senator from Maryland who didn't even acknowledge or barely acknowledged my daughter and the brutal death that she endured, leaving her 5 children.
Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni has arrived in Washington ahead of a high-stakes meeting with US President Donald Trump, aiming to ease growing trade tensions between the US and Europe. Meloni, seen as ideologically aligned with Trump, is trying to balance her loyalty to European allies with Italy's economic interests. As the only EU leader invited to Trump's inauguration, her role as a potential mediator between Washington and Brussels is under close scrutiny. The meeting precedes visits by US Vice President J.D. Vance to Rome, highlighting Italy's emerging strategic importance in transatlantic diplomacy. Severe flooding hit at the rural town of Majagol in Colombia's Sur department after heavy rains caused in the Coca River to overflow, affecting over 1,000 families. Residents resorted to makeshift wooden bridges to move through submerged streets. The persistent flooding has reignited criticism of the breached Kergato dike, which has failed to contain the river since 2021. Local authorities have begun emergency measures, including embankment reinforcement and sandbag developments to contain further damage.
Que miren nuestra situación, que acá no viven terratenientes como ellos dicen, que acá no viven los adinerados, aquí vivimos, somos gente campesina, que queremos es el cierre de Caregato para poder seguir adelante de esta calamidad que estamos viviendo, que esto da tristeza, son 4 años ya en esta calamidad, ya no aguantamos un día más.
Mira.
Compraba animales y vendía y todo eso se desapareció, porque igual manera la finca donde estábamos, todo eso se inundó y me hemos perdido todo.
North Korean leader Kim Jong-un attended a ceremony celebrating the completion of the third phase of a major housing project in Pyongyang on Wednesday, April 16th, coinciding with the birthday of the country's late founder. Kim Tu-sung, state-run broadcaster KRT aired footage of the event, showing Kim Jong uncutting a ceremonial ribbon and interacting with the new residents and military personnel. His daughter Ju-ae was also seen at the event. According to KCNA, the ceremony took place on Tuesday, April 15, to mark the handover of 10,000 newly built apartments in Pyongyang, Hwasong district. The housing project is part of five-year plan to construct 50,000 homes in the capital by 2025. The final and fourth phase of the Hwasong project began in February 2023.
한호성이 하늘 땅을 침감했습니다. 군국일이 있어보지 못한 거창한 창조 대전으로 공식에 참가했습니다. 요정을 멈춤없이 거폭으로 이어나가는 위대한 조선노동당의 투쟁사의 불멸할 역사적 화폭이 또다시 펼쳐진 준공식장에 경축의 축포 한호성이 하늘 땅을 침감했습니다. 군국일이 있어보지 못한 거창한 창조 대전으로 준공식에 참가했습니다. 요정을 멈춤없이 거폭으로 이어나가는 위대한 조선노동당의 투쟁사의 불멸할 역사적 화폭이 또다시 펼쳐진 준공식장에 경축의 축포 단호성이 하늘 땅을 진감했습니다. 군국일에 있어보지 못한 거창한 창조 대전으로 준공식에 참가했습니다. 새로운 요정을 멈춤없이 거폭으로 이어나가는 위대한 조선노동당의 투쟁사의 불멸할 역사적 화폭이 또다시 펼쳐진 준공식장에 경축의 축포 단호성이 하늘 땅을 진감했습니다. 단호성이 하늘 땅을 진감했습니다. 군국일에 있어보지 못한 거창한 창조 대전으로 준공식에 참가했습니다.
Israel conducted an operation in the area of Misilai near the northwest bank town of Kabatia, where the military said it has killed 2 Palestinians, including one suspected of carrying out an attack that left Israel's dead in January.
والله شوف والله
Chinese President Xi Jinping, during his official visit to Kuala Lumpur on Wednesday, pledged China's support to Malaysia in navigating shocks to global order and economic globalization. Xi Jinping emphasized China's commitment to strengthening bilateral ties and enhancing cooperation on regional and global issues. His statement underscored China's solidarity with Malaysia amidst current global challenges.
当前国际秩序和经济全球化遭受冲击，两国将同地区国家团结一致，共同抵御地缘政治和阵营对抗暗流，突破单边主义和保护主义逆流，保护好亚洲家园的美好发展前景。
And today, at a time when multilateralism is under tremendous strain, when some nations abandon the principles of shared responsibility and others question long-standing commitments, China's global initiative offers a new lease on hope. They look outward, not inward. They speak not of rivalry, but of renewal. What we are witnessing today is not an honest reckoning with the imperfections of globalization, but the retreat into economic tribalism. Market access is being weaponized. What was once a multilateral covenant for shared growth now buckles under the weight of arbitrary disruption and unilateral whip.
当前国际秩序和经济全球化遭受冲击，两国将同地区国家团结一致，共同抵御地缘政治和阵营对抗暗流，突破单边主义和保护主义逆流，保护好亚洲家园的美好发展前景。
And today, at a time when multilateralism is under tremendous strain, when some nations abandon the principles of shared responsibility and others question long-standing commitments, China's global initiative offers a new lease on hope. They look outward, not inward. They speak not of rivalry, but of renewal. What we are witnessing today is not an honest reckoning with the imperfections of globalization, but the retreat into economic tribalism. Market access is being weaponized. What was once a multilateral covenant for shared growth now buckles under the weight of arbitrary disruption and unilateral whip.
当前国际秩序和经济全球化遭受冲击，两国将同地区国家团结一致。
Relatives and friends of convicts serving sentences in Myanmar waited outside jails Thursday to greet their loved ones after the head of the military government granted an amnesty to around 4,900 prisoners to mark the country's traditional New Year. State-run media reported Thursday. Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has warned the children in the U.S. are being diagnosed with autism at an alarming rate. He is promising to conduct exhaustive studies that will identify any environmental factors that may cause the disorder.
Great. This is a preventable disease. We know it's an environmental exposure. It has to be. Genes do not cause epidemics. They can provide a vulnerability. You need an environmental toxin. This is an individual tragedy as well. Autism destroys families. More importantly, it destroys our greatest resource, which are our children. These are children who should not be suffering like this. These are kids who, many of them were fully functional and regressed because of some environmental exposure into autism when they're 2 years old. And these are kids who will never pay taxes, they'll never hold a job, they'll never play baseball, they'll never write a poem, they'll never go out on a date. Many of them will never use a toilet unassisted. And we have to recognize we are doing this to our children. We're going to follow the science no matter what it says, and we are great. This is a preventable disease. We know it's an environmental exposure. It has to be. Genes do not cause epidemics. They can provide a vulnerability. You need an environmental toxin. This is an individual tragedy as well. Autism destroys families. More importantly, it destroys our greatest resource, which are our children. These are children who should not be suffering like this. These are kids who, many of them were fully functional.
That's the wrap about the world news. Keep watching CVR English News.